Brett Adams.
Okay, great.
We have some cheerleaders too.
Oh, great. Okay, would you tell us who you are, please?
Maya Johnson. Desiree Murray.
Pardon me?
Desiree Murray.
These people were instrumental in guiding this outstanding team to victory. And whereas the Far West Jets defeated the Lee Summit Titans of Missouri 6-0 on Friday, December 11, 2009 in Orlando, Florida, to become Arizona's first Pop Warner football team to win a national championship.
Right.
And whereas this national championship brought great esteem to the Far West Jets, who pride themselves on teamwork and excellence, as well as great honor to their hometown of Goodyear. And whereas the city of Goodyear is extremely proud of the Far West Jets for the hard work and commitment that made them national champions. Now therefore I, James Cavanaugh, Mayor of the city of Goodyear, do hereby proclaim January 15, 2010 as Far West Jets National Champions Day.
Let me ask you one question first.
Yes, of course.
So, tell us, what was the key to success? Why were you the best? Teamwork. Great. Anybody else? That's good.
Hard work.
Hard work.
All right.
All right, well, that's good. And what high school district are you youngsters in? And their ages what? So about in 5 or 6 years, there's going to be some tough football in this part of the state. Well, that's good. We're looking forward to you winning for us. So congratulations on you fellows and ladies should be extremely proud.
Thanks for having us out.
And then we can all fit in, because I've got to shoot you from here. Just a little.
Let the mayor get in, you guys kind of get.
Let me
Actually,
get back
how
here.
about I get you guys and kneel down right here? Could you do that? Come here, kneel down right here.
Grab a knee, Bart. Grab a knee, Bart. I'm gonna tighten, grab a knee. Right there, right where you're at.
Front row.
Guys, I got to do.
Yeah, oh, you're good, you're good.
I don't know, maybe fit in there.
Excellent.
So you guys might be able to get up.
If I can have all of you look towards me with a big smile. 1, 2, 3. One more, just in case. 1, 2, 3. And one more, just in case. 1, 2, 3. Oops, heads out. There we go. Okay, thank you very much.
You want to shake their hand? Come on, shake their hand.
Well, if they stand there, we can just have them walk around and.
Well, they can stand there
Are they
when you
good,
walk
yeah?
out.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me shake your hand
You guys-
first before you
you
get
guys
beyond the
shake
deal,
hands.
okay? And then you're going to meet all our council members, so they're going to be over here, Joe. Okay? Is that good? Good. You know, my boys play popular in Massachusetts. Late 70s, actually. And you- Good work. You got routines?
I'm not sure what he's going to do, so item C maybe.
Proud of yourself? What do you want? Okay. Dave. Good work. No rush.
Okay.
Everybody move up.
Yeah, I'm done. They're gone.
I feel like we're in church. We need
No, I have to say,
to look
12 years I have been a football mom. That's the biggest thing ever.
Something, isn't it?
That's big time something.
Something big time is right.
Okay, we'll now move to opportunity for the citizens to comment to the council on any subject not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
Mayor Kavanaugh? Mayor, I have 2 cards.
Okay.
First one is Damian Ross.
Thank you. A month ago, I was here and addressed the mayor and the council about our north subdivision, some of the graffiti in our area. What I have, I went around tonight before I came over here, and the only 2 sets of graffiti that are marked out are the ones that got the nasty letters in code compliance. I've not yet been contacted by code compliance as I thought I was going to be from our last meeting. Why I bring this up is well, let me hand. It's a little awkward. Wanted the council to actually be able to see some of the graffiti. I know that's vulgar, but that's what we get to look at. I'd rather not put that on an overhead. So we're starting to have some gang infestation. The problem, and why I want to bring this up to the council, is because the economics now and the funds that are cut and how some of the gang units and other police force in our city are being cut back on overtime and things because of that. And if there is any way of helping, you know, if they need help with money, I'm a citizen, I'm all for that for the police force. We seem to be fighting a losing battle in our neighborhood, and we're trying to keep it nice. It's the old Clemmy Arnold neighborhood over there off of Central and north of Van Buren. So that's what I saw tonight when I walked around about 5:30, and I took those pictures. And that's about it. Tomorrow night I'm going to go to, we have a little subdivision meeting once a month, and code compliance is supposed to be there, so maybe I'll get contacted then. But Willie, what's his name? Willie Elizondo did contact me from the sanitation for the other problem that we discussed, but there wasn't much, you know, that he really could do. He cleaned up the sidewalk down by the park, so you can't see that graffiti anymore. But I just want to bring that up and kind of be a little fly, you know, or a big fly. So thank you.
But you did not get a response from code compliance?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not.
The city manager, I thought we had a firm that we were paying to eradicate graffiti in the city.
We are, Mr. Sousa. I'll have to check on this. We were also told that code compliance would contact Mr. Ross prior to December 23rd, and apparently that didn't happen, so we will sure check on it and see what's going on.
The only 2 pieces of graffiti that got covered up were on my wall after I called the police, and they did a report, and he stopped down the alley and took pictures, and I assume turned that in, and then we got these little nasty grams from code compliance. But I wanted you to see how obvious the graffiti is in that area, and it's getting worse. So, and I am working with the police on it, but I'd rather not bring that up in an open meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Fishback, would you report back to us on status and update? And how the meeting, tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, how that goes. Okay. Okay, and then there was another?
Yes, the second speaker is Gary Gelzer.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Gary Gelzer. I'm a citizen of Goodyear. I want to comment on the work session that you previously had on the budget, and I want to particularly comment on the shortfall that the budget process predicted when you adopted the budget. One of the things I want you to realize, and I'm somehow in the conversation that at the work session I don't think you did, was that budgets are adopted anywhere from 16 months to 13 months ahead of when the actual event is going to take place. And once a budget is adopted, by law, you cannot change your budget. You know that as well as I do. And therefore, you should be very happy with the results that the city manager has done by, one, cutting expenditures and was able to actually replace or find an additional $4+ million in last year's budget. You seem to have castigated him during this last work session based on the fact that he predicted we were going to have a $3.1 million shortfall, which was a shortfall that was predicated on an advanced prediction of anywhere from 12 to 15 months worth of predictions, which if you could predict it or if Ben Bernanke could predict it, I think we'd be in a hell of a lot of better shape. But you didn't. And so what I want to say to you is, before you start beating up on Larry Lang, the city finance director, and the city manager, who are doing a very good job in managing the funds of the citizens, I think you need to understand the difference between a budgeted amount and how a budget works and a cash amount, and what the revenues that the city has and the revenues that they actually have in pocket and in hand to be able to pay the actual bills. So I think the tone of the work session was poor, and I want to comment on that as just an average citizen who does understand a little bit about budgeting. Thank you very much.
Now we'll move to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the clerk to read consent items A through I by title only, please.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a special meeting and a regular meeting held on December 7th, 2009, and draft minutes of a work session, regular meeting, and special meeting held on December 14th, 2009. Item B, approve a request from Ronald Paruksky, representing Smith's Food and Drug Centers, Inc., for a location transfer of a Series 9 liquor license, number 090704441, for Fry's Marketplace, number 676, located at 16380 West Yuma Road, Goodyear, Arizona. Item C, adopt ordinance 10-1204, providing for an amendment to the planned area development zoning for Estrella Phase 2 on 288 acres generally located between the Williams Field Road and Pecos Road alignments and between the Cotton Lane and Reams Road alignments, amending the PAD planned uses, development standards, and design guidelines as set forth in the Sierra Vista Foothills amended final planned area development dated December 2009, adopting supplementary zoning map number 08-006 to provide for the PAD zoning amendment, providing separability, and providing for an effective date. Item D, approve a preliminary plat for Pebble Creek Phase 2, Units 42, 42A, and 49, subdividing 93.58 acres into 286 single-family lots generally located along the west side of Saraville Avenue, south of Indian School Road, within the Pebble Creek Phase 2 PAD, subject to stipulations. Item E, approve special use zoning in the planned area development general commercial PAD C-2 zoning district for a Montessori in the Park Preschool and Elementary School generally located north of the northwest corner of Litchfield and McDowell Roads behind the Macaroni Grill restaurant in the Palm Valley Commerce Park Commercial Center, subject to stipulations. Item F, adopt ordinance 10-1205, amending Article 7-6-B, placement of signs, and Article 7-5, definitions of the zoning ordinance of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, adopted May 24, 1999, as amended, regarding the placement of signs within public street right-of-way or on city property, and providing for an effective date. Item G, award a construction contract to Wheeler Construction, Inc. for a total amount of $3,625,203.78 for project number ST0309, Goodyear Park and Ride Facility Phase 1. Item H, ratify the application submitted to the Arizona Department of Water Resources of a remedial groundwater utilization plan consistent with the Groundwater Management Act prior to January 1, 2010. Item I, approve a professional services contract with Brown and Caldwell in amount of $90,000 to provide technical support for all Superfund and Water Quality Assurance Revolving Fund related activities.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Would anyone on the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Mayor, I got a couple questions on E and G.
Okay, I asked if they would brief G. I think it's G, is that, or
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
G? Okay, so they're going to have a very short briefing for the public's sake and answer your question, okay?
E, I got a quick question.
And I think we can wait on the motion until we hear that, because it's going to be quick. And then the other one was that I had, would someone from the staff explain the change that I'm recommending in the preliminary plat for Pebble Creek on D?
Yeah.
Okay? So why don't we start with that one, John?
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Hold on, John. You're pulling D, or you're
No,
just asking?
I want you to hear what I suggested to change, and when we make the motion, we'll make that change in the motion, if you agree with it. Okay?
Okay. Well, and then Joe's got E.
E,
as an
yeah,
echo.
E.
He had a question.
And they're going to brief on that.
On E.
So D, E, and G.
correct?
That's the second
Yeah,
one.
first we're going to, yeah, go ahead. Right.
Just read the old and the new.
D. This is D?
Yes. This is the Pebble Creek
Yeah.
preliminary plat. And the reason I brought it up was because in the public report, it talks that the public needs to know about I-10 and the 303, but I also thought they need to know that the connection between I-10 and the 303 is a stack, elevated stack, and I think they're going to care about that in the future, so I just want that in the public report.
Are we going to start using that
What?
on that area from now on?
I think we should.
Yeah,
Mayor,
I
can we
agree.
procedurally just take that and
Yes.
pull it and then have them do a presentation?
No, I think it's
'Cause
simple,
you're gonna-
unless you have any
Yeah,
objections.
you're going to get into a pretty
let 'em
lengthy
do it right
discussion
here.
if we're going to start
I don't think
talking
so.
about notifying people of the stack. Yeah, because we've got further implications than just Pebble Creek, I think. If you're going to start talking about public notification
Well,
on public
okay, then we'll
reports.
pull it, and I'll ask, I think it's G, is that it? Park and ride, or?
Also E. E.
E's in Edward.
Councilman Pizzillo has E as an echo. He has a question on.
Okay. Let's get G up first here, okay, and then we'll get to that.
Should have a PowerPoint presentation. Is it up? Jeff? Hey, Jeff, can you,
Mr. Mayor, if we're going to have a full presentation, we need to do it outside of the consent. Mr. Massey just told me.
Oh, we're doing a 2-minute presentation.
It's still a presentation.
No, if you're just going to ask a couple questions, you can do that in consent, but if you can do the full presentation in consideration, you probably should handle it outside of consent.
I'm here to answer some questions.
I just wanted the public to hear about the park and ride, is what I wanted. And I guess soon,
So why don't we do a separate item after you deal with the consent?
all right.
Okay.
And then, Joe, you wanted E pulled?
No,
Or
not pulled, just a
question?
quick question.
E? That's a special use zoning for school use in the pad for Montessori.
Montessori School.
Hi, Brett. I was actually hoping that Montessori was gonna come up because I had a tour with them. I guess it was last week at some time. Both me and Councilmember Osborne had, and was going to ask him when he was hoping or she was hoping to have this opened. Do I have somebody from Montessori?
Yeah.
I'm good with the staff presentation.
In the records.
Mike, why don't you come up too?
With
I know
Mark.
we have Mike Hurst
Yes.
here, and there are a few others too, but I'll turn it over to him.
Just a quick question. Well, when were you planning on opening the facility, if everything goes great tonight?
Fall of this year for school enrollment.
Okay.
And
And I wanted to thank you. I appreciated the tour that we had the other day. I was very impressed with the equipment that you had in there, how well behaved the kids were, the actual environment. And I wanted to thank you for that, and I think it's a great addition. That's all I wanted to add, Mayor.
We were really glad you could come. We wish more could have been able to attend that.
But no, I appreciate taking the time and showing me. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any others that you'd like to pull? Okay, then what we've done is we've pulled D and G. So, could I have a motion to approve consent items 7A, B, C, E, F, H, and I?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Cavalier. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, let's talk preliminary plat for Pebble Creek. A change in the stipulation, I think 18.
Mr. Mayor, council members, apologize, I don't have any maps here, so I'll just try to explain it the best I can. Again, we're looking at about 93.5 acres, 286 single-family lots. Lot sizes are what is typical in Pebble Creek Phase 2 in terms of width and depth. 3.1 dwelling units per acre with these 3 units. And as noted in the staff report, that density is a little higher than what the Luke's graduated density concept would recommend. However, the development agreement approved by council between the city and Pebble Creek, that development agreement approved in May 2005 allowed Pebble Creek to transfer density outside the 65 LDN and move that into other areas. So this density was acceptable to Luke Air Force Base, and that letter has been provided in the staff report. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission found this preliminary plat to be compatible with the surrounding area, consistent with the city's ordinances and codes. We are recommending approval, subject to the stipulations in the staff report. Stipulation, Mr. Mayor, do you want me to go right into Stipulation 18 now? Stipulation 18, as proposed, states the following. The following information shall be disclosed in a public sales report and shall be provided in a separate acknowledgement which shall run with the land for each initial homebuyer to sign. Pebble Creek Phase 2, Units 42, 42A, and 49 may be subject to attendant noise and visible intrusion from Interstate 10 and a Loop 303, a proposed freeway. That's the original language. Language that we would recommend would be, the following information shall be disclosed in a public sales report and shall be provided in a separate acknowledgement which shall run with the land for each initial homebuyer to sign. Pebble Creek Phase 2, Units 42, 42A, and 49 will be subject to attendant noise and visible intrusion from Interstate 10, the Loop 303, and the elevated stack interchange connecting the 2 freeways.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, I think, Councilmember Antoniak, you have some objection there.
Not some, I guess I don't want to, I'll split hairs a little bit, but you're talking about Unit 49, 42A, and 42, and it's only those public reports that this would affect, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about units that are on the south west quadrant of Indian School and whatever that street is right there? Saraville?
Saraville.
Okay. I mean, I guess I feel like the original stipulation covers it. I wouldn't necessarily strongly object, but I would just ask that we're consistent around all 4 quadrants, and at what point do we stop? Because, I mean, we can, is the applicant okay with it? I assume they are.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't want to make a big stink about it, but if you want to amend the agenda or amend the item, I'm happy to vote for it. I think we're piecemeal in this one. You got to, I mean, they're homes that are not going to back up to a freeway alignment. They're a mile away, 2 miles away in some cases, and, we got to have the same thing on the public report at Safeway at Van Buren and Estrella Parkway if we're going to do that.
But the fact is, they did include I-10 within the stipulation. And
No,
they aren't
no.
any closer to I-10
But it has
than
to
they are
do.
to the stack.
It has more to do with noise.
No, it doesn't. It's visible intrusion
Well, it
as
says
well.
noise and visible intrusion, and that's that's kind of a catch-all. But if it's fine. I'm
So you-
splitting hairs, but I just don't
it's
think we're going to
harsh,
be
you think?
consistent here in our public reports.
Yeah, Mr. Souza.
Why wasn't noise from Luke included in this?
It is. They've got
Where? Why wouldn't it be included in 18?
It's number 15. It's stipulation number 15. It's the standard one that we always have.
Okay, all right. Sorry, but
Well, 15 has to do with Luke, but not.
Just to...
I understand your rationale.
Yeah,
The
it's-
consistency issue for me is...
I think we certainly need to consider that in any area, any development within that general area. This is going to be one huge
It'll be big.
facility, and the people better know about it before they move in there, I think. So, okay?
Yes, sir.
So, let's go with the motion on this one, then. Could I have a motion to approve it with the changes mentioned?
So Second.
A motion from Councilmember Cavalier and a second from Vice Mayor Lord. Further discussion?
I just comment, I do think, having been a sales rep in this business, that it really will help, because it is going to be visible, and I just think it, to be transparent, we're telling them ahead of time, and I don't think it's going to prevent them from selling a home in that area, because it is a distant from it, but I think it shows some clarity for them.
Well, I think the biggest problem is not the fact in sales. It has to do with after the people have bought their home and moved in.
Well, it's all
and
about
they're
sales,
six-
because if you don't disclose something as sales, that's when they come back and eat you alive.
Yeah,
So
but
that's the
6
reason I
months to
say
a year
that.
after they're in, they sit there and then the complaints come to Luke. We didn't know it was going to be this loud. We didn't know that the road was going to be there. We didn't know there was going to be a high rise. So these things happen after the fact. And folks, I'll tell you something, no matter how careful you are, I don't care how careful the salesperson is, this stuff comes back constantly because people don't know what they're listening to and what they're signing. They sign it, get on the dotted line because it's a pretty house and they want in. And so I know it's a problem, but it happens after the fact, and I don't know how you're going to solve that problem. It's human nature.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the, could I have a vote on this? All those in favor signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Go on, see?
I just want to ask a question of staff. Are you now going to request the stipulation for everything west of that?
Mr. Mayor, council members, if that was the council's wish, we would, from now on, for any new Pebble Creek plats, make this the new standard for this stipulation.
I think you're going down a slippery slope. I'm going to vote
You mean
nay.
for the other communities
Yeah,
on the other side, I agree.
I'm going to vote nay.
I think if you include I-10 and 303 in here, then you should talk about the stack.
Both
And
sides.
that's no matter where you are.
North and south.
If that's something that needs to be in a public report, so does the fact that they connect. If it was 303 without I-10, that'd be one thing. If it was I-10 without 303, that'd be another. This is talking about both and where they connect. The people need to know this, and we need to be online as advising them.
Okay. I think the stipulation stands on its own. I'll vote nay on this.
Good.
I think you're a mile and a half to the, and I'll explain why. You're a mile and a half to the west is where the facility will be, and 1, 2, 3, 2.5 miles to the south. And once you start going outside certain boundaries, and you start, you're starting to go down a slippery slope of installing transportation infrastructure that's critical elements of economic growth and economic development. And as local communities, we need to be aware of that. We need to be concerned about that. And I didn't articulate that well enough at the beginning, but for the sake of the amendment, I'll vote no on this.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 6-1. I think it was E, Park and Ride.
G.
Gee.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of council, I'm Al Gonzalez, Engineering Project Manager. I'm here this evening to give a brief presentation on the City of Goodyear Park and Ride Facility Phase 1. The proposed park and ride will be located approximately, next slide please. Proposed park and ride will be located approximately northwest of Dysart and I-10, west of Mimi's Cafe, south of Lowe's on Cornerstone Boulevard. Next slide, please. Our project milestones to date, of the 4, we've accomplished 3. Back April of 2009, the environmental clearance was complete along with the land acquisition. Phase 1 design was complete this past December. Upon council's approval of this award, we're looking at going into construction February next month of 2010, and with anticipated construction completion date of August of 2010. Next slide, please. The park and ride layout it consists of 400 covered parking spaces, a security building with restrooms, a maintenance building. The area will be fully landscaped, and we're looking at a public art component from approximately $50,000 to $70,000 in cost. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the security building and with the attached restrooms. Next slide. The drop-off and pickup point with the shade structures. Next slide. The maintenance building with the security building in the background. Next slide, please. And a funding breakdown for the 3 phases that I just talked about, the design, land acquisition, and construction. The total amount for phase 1 would be $7.7 million. Out of this, 93.3% is federally funded, and 7% will be local funding. We also have phase 2 of this, which will be at a later date, which will have approximately, will add about 460 more covered parkings to phase 2. Next slide, please. I'm here to answer any of the questions.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I got just a couple quick ones. Al, on the total dollars, it's the $519,000. That's the bottom line local. Is that our contribution to this process? $519,000.
That's correct.
The other question I have is to make sure that I also noticed there's some operational money that's going to be in here that's included in the base budget when we start move forward with 10 and 11. Doesn't get forgotten in that process. And I imagine a lot of this is grant money, correct?
Of the operating budget?
No, not the operating budget, but the capital. It's grant money.
Yes.
And that we have staff in place, because I know with grant funding, it's real important that you make sure that the spending is done specifically for the grant, or you could end up not getting reimbursed for that. So we have staffing in place to ensure that from a grant standpoint that we're tracking that the money is spent according to the grant, so that when we ask for our reimbursement, we have no problems.
That is correct.
Okay,
yes.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
that. Those are the questions I had, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Souza, did you?
Yes. Of the funds that are involved in here, have we researched the ability to get funds from Mr. Obama's gifts to other communities?
That's part of that stimulus funding, the ARA funds.
It is?
Yes.
And how much of that is being funded by?
If we can go back to the last slide, please. The stimulus funding in the realm of 2.5 and of 2.57 million for stimulus funding, and there's other grant funds out there in the realm of 4.6 million.
Well, in the original presentation months ago, I voted against this because I thought the price that we're paying for the ground where this facility would be located was extreme. But in view of what I see here and what I overlooked in going through my agenda package this evening or during the course of the weekend, I would have to vote yes, based on the facility and what it's going to afford the motors that are going to be going into the Phoenix area and the East Valley. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, could I have a motion to approve 7D? No, 7G.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Vice Mayor Lord, second from Councilmember Antoniak. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Okay, we'll move to business. We have one item on our business agenda, and that's a resolution providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution presented before you, Resolution 10-4348, on the copies that you have and that were available to the public, there are blanks in there. That is because the bids for the interest were set for 10 o'clock this morning. It's an electronic bidding process required by state law for all GO bonds. In the audience this evening, we also have Mr. Scott Ruby and Sarah Smith from Gust Rosenfeld. They are bond counsel on this transaction, and Larry Given from Wedbush Securities, who is our financial advisor. The bids were open this morning. We received 6 bids. 5 of those bids were for Build America bonds, or BABs as they're referred to. One of the bids was for traditional tax exempt. The Build America bonds are taxable bonds that have a higher interest rate, but the federal government reimburses or rebates to the city 35% of that interest rate. The low bidder in this had a 6% interest rate, but that's a taxable interest rate. When you subtract out, and I rounded that, I hope you'll excuse, I do have it down to 6 decimals if you'd prefer, but was when you calculate that down after the 35% rebate, works out to an effective interest rate of 3.9%. The traditional tax-exempt bond had an interest rate of just over 5%. And so all of the wording in the resolution has been revised to award it to the lowest bidder, and also the wording then is revised in the section that deals with tax-exempt to have the specific language for the Build America bonds. That's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, and our advisors are here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to read the resolution by title only, please.
Adopt Resolution 10-1358, providing for the issuance and sale of $5,815,000 aggregate principal amount of general obligation bonds, Series 2010, providing for the annual levy of a tax for the payment of the bonds, accepting a proposal for the purchase of the bonds, approving the form, and authorizing the execution of an agreement for the services of a bond registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent, approving the distribution of an official statement connection with the issuance and sale of the bonds herein authorized, ratifying the actions of city officers and agents concerning the bonds and the distribution of a preliminary official statement pertaining to the bonds, providing certain terms, covenants, and provisions regarding the bonds, and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Vice Mayor Lord. It's open for discussion.
Just real quick, what's the period of the bonds, Larry?
These bonds are for a 20-year maturity.
Okay, and is that both interest and principal?
Yes, principal and interest.
Principal and interest.
Because we're trying to refinance some of the other general obligation bonds, the first principal payment is delayed a little bit on this to avoid us having to refinance these.
But in 20 years it's paid?
Yes.
Okay. And I do appreciate the fact that in the COAC it mentions that the sewer enterprise fund is going to be covering that portion of the sewer bonds, correct?
That is correct.
So it won't be secondary property tax?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, could I Have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sousa.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier.
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak.
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne.
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. We now will move to comments by our council members on current events.
Oh, got any?
Mr. Souza? Okay.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please, I'm
Dick, and then you
so
got it.
happy to have him back.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I want to thank you and the residents of the city for so many get well cards during my absence, and your consideration for my absences and following through without any hindrance on my part and from being absent. So thank you all, and it's good to be back in good health. Thank you much.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Councilman Souza, we're happy to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I attended the 2010 Legislative Forecast Luncheon given by the Chambers, and the Senate President Bob Burns, the House Speaker, and the House Minority Leader spoke, and I got the impression that they're all ready to get down to business, and you might see hands crossing the table. So I'm looking forward to seeing the end results to that. Also attended the Friends of the Library meeting, and I want you to know they're really progressing. They're raising funds, and they're about ready to elect new officers for the second term. So it's going to be a real advantage, and is an advantage. Already they're working with the library. And then, sorry, keep talking. I had another steering committee meeting at GPEC, and I want you to know that we are progressing on the enterprise zone bill that will be sponsored by one of the senators.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Councilwoman, can the citizens donate books to the library?
Yes.
Can.
Yes.
Good.
We take
I don't think
donations
I
because
remember
we're raising funds for selling books. Yes. And they can go online, it's on the website, and they can contact somebody and they'll pick up the books.
Good.
And we use
Excellent.
them.
Very good.
Councilmember Antonio?
No, it was overlooked during the park and ride, but props to staff for getting the federal money. I know your staff, John, worked on that, and we overlooked that, and just wanted to say congrats. I mean, that obviously takes a big hit out of our budget, and looking at gas prices increasing from whatever they were a couple of weeks ago by 15 cents, I think I heard in the news, or 14 cents. So there's talk of it going up to $4 a gallon by the end of the year. That park and ride will come in handy for a lot of folks commuting downtown. So.
Mayor, just real quick, one of our officers, Officer Kyle Rogers, is getting recognized tonight by the Buckeye Union High School for his service as an SRO he provides to students and staff at Estrella Foothills High School. So just want to kudos to the PD department for that.
Okay, thank you.
I had this afternoon had a meeting with the Buckeye Union High School District and the campaign for clean air. It's a flag system that the schools can raise a flag underneath the American flag of saying what level of air quality we are at for the day. I think something that they're going to try out there actually should be in Estrella Foothills High School here in Goodyear, and trying to be that clean air advocate, I guess. So that was our first meeting today.
I have something for staff, so whenever.
Oh, for a question? Okay, Mr. Fischbach.
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Now, inquiries of staff, and I have a question also.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I had a citizen complain about the skateboard park during the holidays. They took their relatives to it and proceeded to find the bikes in the skateboard park, smoking, no helmets, and so they were rather embarrassed to show our facility as it was. So they made a complaint. I did call the director of our Parks and Recreation, Mike, and I did talk in detail about it, and he did call the citizen. But my question to staff is, and I know we cut that position for budget purposes, but on holidays and weekends, I'm not so sure that was a wise decision on our part to not have some kind of somebody there hired to watch over what's going on, because obviously they can't seem to police themselves. And then I heard just recently that some of the graffiti was gang-related graffiti. So I didn't confirm that with the police department. But I am concerned. I'm concerned the impression that gives, and I'm concerned for the parents of Goodyear that their children might not be that safe and are learning things that the parents really don't want their children to learn. So
We'd be happy to report back to you about both the graffiti and the possibilities of what it would cost us in order to amend the budget or whatever.
on a part-time basis for the holidays and weekends.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Because, we put a lot of money in that park, and they're destroying it. So I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I appreciate Mike calling the citizen and talking to him. He was.
Thank you.
This may, because you're not the first person that has gone to staff over the skate park. And I don't know where I'm sitting on the fence here, and I shouldn't say it that way, but of whether I can discuss it since it's not an agenda item. So that's why I'm hesitant. But I had also, about a month and a half ago, reported this also with the issues. And I actually was a parent that kicked bikes out of the park, and the kid said, well, who are you? I was like, I don't want to get you in trouble, but you guys need to be out of here. And so, that's what's going to happen with unsupervised places, and I would support something to do with a part-time watchdog. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Last one then is, Mr. Fischbach, I trust that the comments by the citizen relative to the work session will not in any way diminish your response to concerns that this council holds fairly dearly, and we will still look forward to a response.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
Good, thank you. Meeting's adjourned.